Did you know we have completely ad-free early access to all of our episodes? Well, we do. Not only that, but we have dozens of bonus episodes waiting for you. Head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod, and you can check it out for 7 days absolutely free. That's patreon.com/ghosttownpod.
Only Boost Mobile.
Boost Mobile.
We'll give you a free year of service.
Free year?
When you buy a new 5G phone.
New 5G phone?
Enough.
But I'm your hype man. When you purchase an eligible device, you get $25 off every month for 12 months with credits totaling 1 year of free service. Taxes extra for the device and service plan. Online only.
Across America, healthcare teams are managing complex demands. At Siemens Healthineers, we're here to help. With more than 17,000 U.S. team members, we're pioneering breakthroughs in medical imaging, therapy, and laboratory diagnostics, giving healthcare teams the tools to deliver smarter, faster, more precise care. Because when the right technology meets the right moment, diagnoses are clearer, treatments more effective, and lives can truly change. For us, it's more than innovation. It's a promise built for generations. Siemens Healthineers.
Remember those endless summer days that felt like they just last forever? Sun rays kiss your skin. Grass tickles your toes as you bite into the creamy popsicle melting in your hand. Pure, unbothered bliss. Capture more sun-drenched memories with the Orange Vanilla Dream Hydration Multiplier from Liquid IV. This nostalgic vanilla flavor with notes of candied orange can help keep you hydrated while savoring your favorite golden hour moments. No matter how hot your summer gets, just one stick of Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you better than water alone. It's 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, with 8 vitamins and nutrients for refreshing on-the-go hydration. Live your summer dream with Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code INDULGE20 at checkout. That's code INDULGE20 at liquidiv.com.
A mysterious caller. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
Cheryl Elizabeth Levitt and her daughter, Suzanne Elizabeth Streeter, were best friends, a petite mother-daughter duo who almost looked like sisters. Not only that, Susie proudly wanted to follow in her mother's footsteps, going to cosmetology school to work at a local salon. The 47-year-old single mother was overjoyed to figure out what her daughter's long future held, because the future was now. Susie, the 19-year-old, was a bubbly, popular, and passionate young woman about to attend her high school graduation. Of course, a huge milestone for both mother and daughter. Involving Susie's best friend, Stacy McCall, the evening after the women's graduation would become not one of celebration, but a tragedy of heartbreaking and truly confounding proportions, involving the likes of water parks, serial killers, Civil War reenactors, grave robbers, and mysterious dirty phone calls, among many other unexplained details. Today on Ghost Town, the fascinating and frustrating case of Cheryl Levitt, Susie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, known as the Springfield Three. Despite Susie Streeter's upcoming graduation, things weren't always so happy for Levitt and Streeter. In fact, for years until that point, they were quite tumultuous. Levitt got married to her first husband, Brent Streeter, in 1964. The couple first had a son named Bart, and in 1973, Susie was born. Not long after that, Levitt and Streeter divorced, and in 1980, Cheryl married her second husband, Don Levitt. Don had children from his previous marriage. Cheryl Levitt's younger sister, Deborah Schwartz, would later say in an interview, quote, "They were kind of like the Brady Bunch." After some moves around Missouri and Washington, tension filtered into Levitt's marriage. Quote, "She was making good money," Schwartz said, a cosmetologist who had built up a loyal clientele. 6 years later, however, the Levitts got divorced. Levitt and her young daughter, Susie Streeter, were ready for a fresh start. Cheryl Levitt and her daughter Susie eventually settled back in Missouri. Not sure what happened to Bart, but from my research, he was not living with Levitt and Susie at the time. According to Schwartz, Levitt toughed out the transition, an independent, fashion-forward, outspoken single mom who did not take any shit. As many sources note, she was also a beautiful woman, both inside and out. Quote, "They were all babes," Schwartz said, describing the family. "They were very attractive people." Fast forward to 4 p.m. on June 6, 1992, Streeter and her best friend, an 18-year-old girl named Stacy McCall, graduated from Kickapoo High School in Springfield, Missouri. Of course, Levitt was in attendance, cheering on her daughter proudly. After graduation, like many graduations, there was a succession of parties that the girls were considering attending. The school itself provided an alcohol-free lock-in inside the building that would take place overnight until about 8 a.m. the next morning, but Streeter and McCall told friends they weren't going to go to the school's party. Instead, the two parted ways and would reconvene at their friend Janelle Kirby's house for a party at Kirby's neighbors. After having pictures taken with her graduation cake and receiving a Cocker Spaniel puppy as a graduation present, McCall left her home for Janelle Kirby's house. Streeter also took pictures that evening at a friend's before departing for the Kirby residence as well. At the Kirbys, Janelle Kirby, Stacy McCall, and Susie Streeter made a plan for the rest of their evening: to go to a party at Janelle Kirby's neighbors, then drive down to a motel in Branson, Missouri to spend the night, keeping the festivities going by connecting with friends the next morning at a local water park. Still with me with the plans? Okay. Like most teenage plans, Kirby, McCall, and Streeter's were detailed, but also subject to change. And change they did. First, the girls began their night partying with Janelle Kirby's neighbors before deciding to check out other parties in the area. At roughly 10 p.m., Stacy McCall called her mother, informing her of yet another change of plans. Quote, "Mom, don't worry, we're not going to Branson tonight," McCall informed her mom. Kathy Kirby said in a later interview that plans were made, quote, "with the understanding that between 8 and 8:30 a.m. the next morning, everyone would get together to go to Whitewater." The last party the teenagers hit up was at a classmate's home named Michelle Elder, and it ended when the party was broken up by Springfield police at 1:50 a.m. The trio of girls then returned to Kirby's house around 2 a.m. Later, Elder would tell authorities that she and McCall talked at her party about rekindling their relationship. How it was strained or distant, I'm not sure. So they made plans for the evening of Sunday, June 8th, to meet up and talk. Of course, that meeting would not come to pass. So it's 2 a.m., and Janelle Kirby, Stacy McCall, and Susie Streeter left Michelle Elder's house, going back to Kirby's home, ready to call it a night. But that's not exactly where the two of their nights ended. While the three had planned to crash there, the girls soon realized that the Kirby house was at capacity, crowded with out-of-town relatives for Janelle's graduation. So Streeter and McCall decided to go to Levitt's home, that's Streeter's mom, at 1717 East Delmar to sleep, which conveniently only had one resident, Cheryl Levitt. Interviews show that Streeter preferred this arrangement anyway. In a detail that is so of its time, Susie Streeter was excited to show McCall, her best friend, her new king-sized waterbed that she had recently purchased. Cheryl Levitt was presumed to be at the house waiting for Streeter and McCall, though she was last heard from at approximately 11:15 p.m. on June 6th when she spoke to a friend on the phone about painting and varnishing an armoire in her bedroom. As Susie Streeter and Stacy McCall were leaving the Kirby home, Janelle's mother, Kathy, later told Springfield police that she overheard the pair while in bed. Streeter allegedly told McCall to, quote, "follow me to my house," to which McCall replied, "Okay, I will." It was a very concrete plan, not a lot of interpretation. It was also the last time the two teenagers would ever be seen or heard from again. On the morning of June 7th, 1992, the day after graduation, Susie Streeter and Stacy McCall failed to be back at the Kirby house to ride out to the water park. So around 9 a.m., Janelle Kirby and her boyfriend, Mike Henson, visited Susie Streeter and Cheryl Levitt's house to see what the holdup was. Quote, "I started getting worried because Stacy, she's so responsible, and so is Susie," said Kirby in a later interview. "I know they wouldn't just take off without telling us they weren't going to Whitewater." Upon arrival, Kirby found the home's front door completely unlocked and entered, but found no sign of Streeter, McCall, or Levitt. Yet each of the women's cars were parked outside. At this point, of course, Janelle Kirby and Mike Henson were getting a little curious about what was going on, but didn't seem incredibly alarmed, per se. Later, Kirby would report that the glass lampshade on the porch light was shattered, though the bulb itself was intact. Thinking he was helping his then barefoot girlfriend, why she was barefoot I am not sure, Henson innocently swept up the broken glass off the porch, which police later determined may have destroyed potential evidence. Inside the house, Janelle Kirby found Levitt and Streeter's dog, a Yorkshire Terrier named Cinnamon, extremely agitated. While going through the place, which must have been surreal, the couple also observed that the three women's clothing, jewelry, purses, and vehicles, again, were all there, completely undisturbed, as if the woman were somehow still in the house, or perhaps vanished into thin air. But the strangest part of this case really materializes as Janelle Kirby and Mike Henson are leaving the Levitt-Streeter house. As they're exiting, the phone rings, and Janelle Kirby picks it up. More after this break.
How did a little girl who grew up on a Christmas tree farm become the world's biggest pop star? Pop Pantheon's new series digs into Taylor Swift's origin story, from her upbringing in West Reading, Pennsylvania, and knocking down label doors in Nashville as a teenager, to her rise to country superstardom and eventually the global stage. Whether you're a Taylor obsessive or a Swiftie skeptic, this series will illuminate the genesis of a supernova and one of the most important figures in American pop cultural history. Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Only Boost Mobile.
Boost Mobile.
We'll give you a free year of service.
Free year?
When you buy a new 5G phone.
New 5G phone?
Enough.
But I'm your hype man. When you purchase an eligible device, you get $25 off every month for 12 months with credits totaling 1 year of free service. Taxes extra for the device and service plan. Online only.
High Five Casino is the top social casino that's free to play. Sign up today to receive a free welcome bonus and exclusive first purchase offers. Choose the Lucky Deal package for $9.99 and claim up to 550 game coins, 33 sweeps coins, 1 sweep coin daily bonus for 4 days, and 350 diamonds. Your high five moment awaits at highfivecasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
Only Boost Mobile.
Boost Mobile.
We'll give you a free year of service.
Free year?
When you buy a new 5G phone.
New 5G phone?
Enough.
But I'm your hype man. When you purchase an eligible device, you get $25 off every month for 12 months with credits totaling 1 year of free service. Taxes extra for the device and service plan. Online only.
What's it like to care for someone who's sick? To wait for answers, to hope for healing. These are the moments our nation's healthcare teams and their patients face every single day. And it's why we do what we do. We're Siemens Healthineers, and we pioneer breakthroughs in healthcare for everyone, everywhere. Across the country, from rural communities to busy cities, our medical imaging, therapy, and laboratory solutions help providers deliver care that can be smarter, faster, and more precise. With more than 17,000 employees across the United States, we're driving innovations that support healthcare teams, strengthen systems, and truly change people's lives. Because for us, it's about more than technology, more than innovation. It's a promise, built for generations. Siemens Healthineers.
After her two best friends went missing, Janelle Kirby and her boyfriend went to Susie Streeter's home, walked around, did not find their friends, and were about to leave when Kirby answered a, quote, strange and disturbing call from an unidentified male. Later, Kirby would claim the man made sexual innuendos, and whose voice she described as, quote, teen-ish. She hung up and immediately received another call of a sexual nature, again hanging up the phone in disgust. In later interviews, Janelle Kirby said the phone call would trigger a conversation she'd had with Susie Streeter months before. She remembered Streeter complaining about prank calls at the residence since earlier that year, even going so far as to letting the police know. According to Springfield Police Department's David Asher, the calls were, quote, obscene. The individual would not identify himself. They were using the F word and several other words, and she just hung up the phone. Almost immediately, the phone rang again. Quote, obscene phone call again. Click. It's over with, said Asher. With again no sign of Streeter or McCall, Kirby and Henson decided not to panic and instead get on with their day, I suppose, visiting the now-defunct water park Hydra Slide in Springfield instead of Whitewater in Branson, hoping, I suppose, that their friends would eventually turn up. Meanwhile, Stacy McCall's mother, Janice McCall, who hadn't heard from her daughter all day, did begin to worry and decided to go to Levitt and Streeter's home. There, the home was open, just as Kirby and Henson had found, but unlike the teenagers, Janice McCall immediately called the police. Inside, Cinnamon was acting even more panicked. And, like Kirby, Janice McCall noticed all three women's purses were there. But maybe more worrisome, it's not like they were just in the kitchen or in a common space. The three purses were all sitting on the floor of Streeter's bedroom. The bedroom was an eerie scene, to say the least. It did not reflect a break-in, as Levitt's purse contained a cash deposit of almost $900 from her work at the salon. And Janice McCall also observed that some of her daughter's clothing, minus her shirt and underwear, were neatly folded from the night before, the only clothes Janice believed her daughter had all night. There were also recently used makeup wipes near Streeter's jewelry and keys in the room, along with an unfinished can of Coke found next to a pack of cigarettes. Inexplicably, Susie Streeter's headboard had a book resting on it, Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. The lights were off in Streeter's room and her television was showing snow, suggesting that maybe they had watched a movie that night but had never turned off the television after it was finished, or were somehow interrupted. As Janice McCall went back downstairs, she checked the answering machine for clues, finding a strange and alarming message on the machine. The message was later erased, either by McCall, the answering machine itself, which did that a lot in the early 90s, or somebody else. Another clue that might have been lost in what I'd imagine you're realizing is becoming a very tainted crime scene. Despite Janice McCall's initial phone call to the police and a follow-up call hours later, police didn't arrive at the home for at least a day. During that time, police later estimated that the crime scene had been corrupted by at least 10 to 20 people who visited Levitt's house and tidied up the residence while the women were still missing, including emptying ashtrays and cleaning up coffee cups. Quote, when I arrived, the first thing I noticed were several people in the yard. The door was open and people were coming and going from inside the house, said Springfield Police Department's Rick Bookout. One of these people was Nigel Kenny, Susie Streeter's close friend. Kenny would later tell police that Streeter was a, quote, creature of habit, and very particular about parking her car in the same spot in the driveway. Kenny believes that because Streeter's car was not where it usually would be, someone else could have been in her spot when she and McCall arrived before dawn on June 7th. When the officers finally arrived and processed a very clean crime scene, they observed no signs of struggle except for the shattered porch light. Police also noted that Levitt's bed had looked slept in and that there was an awkwardly bent window blind in her bedroom. Additionally, most of the neighbors didn't report seeing or hearing anything suspicious that night, except for one neighbor, who claimed she had seen Susie Streeter driving a van at 6:30 a.m. on June 7, 1992. The neighbor said the girl looked very distressed as she took orders from a man shouting in the back seat. Eventually, others came forward to say that they had also seen a van with maybe a young girl driving it as well, but nobody could remember the van's full license plate to really follow up on the extremely important tip. As the investigation continued, the police noted that the women were also missing their previously scheduled obligations. Levitt had a doctor's appointment scheduled Monday, June 8th, that she had missed, along with a shift later that week at her salon. Stacy McCall was scheduled to work on June 8th at the Springfield Gymnastics Center and never showed up. Susie Streeter was scheduled to work at a local movie theater on June 9th and missed her shift. Desperate for answers, Janice McCall decided to make a missing persons flyer, which featured the faces of the three women. She put them up all over town, and when the media caught wind of the tragedy, they dubbed Susie Streeter, Stacy McCall, and Cheryl Levitt the Springfield Three, a name that would unfortunately stay with them for decades to come. Meanwhile, police were putting together a timeline, establishing that the women had disappeared sometime between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. on June 7, 1992. Again, not a surprise if you're listening to the events that are transpiring. Due to the mysterious nature of the case, and likely the fact that a small force needed some major help in putting all the half pieces of information together, on June 9th, the FBI joined in on the investigation. Officials and volunteers also began performing searches of remote and wooded areas to find something, or perhaps recover bodies. But nothing and nobody was ever found. The first couple months of the investigation, police had a lot to work with, or so they thought. The van, the relationships, the calls. Additionally, on December 31st, 1992, a man called the America's Most Wanted hotline with information about the women's disappearances, but the call was disconnected when the switchboard operator attempted to link the caller up with Springfield investigators. Police said the caller had, quote, prime knowledge of the abductions and publicly appealed for the man to contact them again, but he never did. Still, PD were confident that they would find the person who did this. At the end of 1992, authorities were looking into a healthy amount of potential suspects, even though they could never recover the answering machine calls, which would have been a huge piece of evidence, in my humble opinion. Initially, a suspect was an ex-boyfriend of Susie Streeter, a man named Dustin Rekla. He was not the greatest guy and had broken into a Springfield mausoleum a few months before the women vanished with a couple of friends. There, Rekla and his crew stole $30 worth of gold fillings from an entombed skull. Police were looking at Rekla because Streeter had given investigators a statement about the mausoleum break-in, and she was rumored to be a probable witness against Rekla in court. Not only that, Rekla and his two mausoleum robbery friends were known to be together and in the area the night that the women went missing. Another initial suspect was Cheryl Levitt's son, Susie Streeter's brother, Bart. Bart apparently had a lot of issues, according to a Medium piece on the case, but he also had a rock-solid alibi, corroborated by a neighbor and by his then-girlfriend. He also passed a polygraph test, so investigators eventually removed him from their suspect list without further probable cause. Then there was an active serial killer PD hypothesized might have been involved, a man by the name of Larry Dwayne Hall. Hall traveled around the Midwest for Civil War reenactments and is believed to have murdered dozens of girls and women during this time. Wilson's Creek National Battlefield in Republic, Missouri, is a popular location for such reenactments, as it preserves the grounds of the Battle of Wilson's Creek, one of the first major American Civil War battles west of the Mississippi River. Wilson's Creek National Battlefield is also located just 5 minutes from the Kirby residence. Not only that, there were also 2 Civil War battle reenactments in the morning and afternoon of June 6, 1992, in Pleasant Hope, Missouri, just 30 minutes north of Springfield, further fueling the fire of Hall's involvement. Though Hall would later be incarcerated for his crimes, Jimmy Keene, a former FBI operative, was tasked with befriending Hall in prison, and he succeeded. Hall admitted many specific and graphic details about his crimes and murders to Keene, even showing the FBI agent a murder map of his victims. Police noted that nearly all of Hall's alleged murders occurred in the months of March, June, August, and September between 1980 and 1994, right during the time the Springfield Three went missing. And yet, frustratingly, nothing directly tied Hall to the missing women. And then there's a man named Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and robber who worked with Stacy McCall's father and may have decided to abduct the young girl at some point. In 1997, Cox told journalists that he knew the 3 women had been murdered and buried and claimed their bodies would never be recovered. What gave credence to his claim was that, in 1992, Cox had been actually living in Springfield. When he was interviewed way back then, he told investigators that he was with his girlfriend at church the morning after the women disappeared, which she then corroborated. However, Cox's girlfriend later recanted her statement and said that Cox had asked her to say that. Cox also stated that he was at the home of his parents the night of the disappearance, and they confirmed that alibi. Authorities were uncertain if Cox was involved in the case, or if he knew things by proximity to the area and the McCall family and was just chasing clout. Cox stated to authorities and journalists that he would disclose what happened to the 3 women after his mother died, but no such disclosures have ever occurred since. The Springfield Three were declared legally dead in 1997, and the case stalled out and went cold. But in 2001, the investigation was reopened and new searches commenced. But still nothing until around 2007. It was then that the investigators received a tip that the women's bodies were buried in the foundations of a parking garage at a nearby hospital. Crime reporter Kathy Baird invited Rick Norland, a mechanical engineer, to scan the corner of the parking garage with a ground-penetrating radar, where Norland found 3 anomalies, quote, roughly the same size, that he said were consistent with a quote, grave site location. 2 of the anomalies were parallel, and the other was perpendicular. Springfield Police Department spokesman Lisa Cox said that the person who reported the tip, quote, provided no evidence or logical reasoning behind this theory at the time or since then. She also said that the parking garage began construction in September 1993, over a year after the disappearances. Quote, digging up the area and subsequently reconstructing this structure would be extremely costly, and without any reasonable belief that the bodies could be located there, it is illogical to do so. And for those reasons, SPD does not intend to. Investigators have determined this lead to not be credible. Daryl Moore, a former assistant at the Greene County Prosecutor's Office, said that the tip came from someone who either, quote, claimed to be a psychic or claimed to have a dream or vision about the case. But why they couldn't just dig up the area just to get some closure, something, myself and many Redditors will never quite know. In 2022, the Springfield Three had been missing for 30 years, and even now, theories still abound. Of course, many believe Cops was stalking Stacey McCall, following her to Levitt and Streeter's home, or that Susie Streeter's boyfriend was stalking and harassing her, intent on scaring her into not testifying against him in court. Others believe Cheryl Levitt was the target, that she was perhaps being stalked herself, and that her daughter and friend were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Truly, there is reason to believe any of the victims might have been the primary target for their captors, and without more concrete evidence, this case continues to be a fascinating, heartbreaking, and frustrating snapshot of three lives with so much promise, frozen in time.
Only Boost Mobile.
Boost Mobile.
We'll give you a free year of service.
Free year?
When you buy a new 5G phone.
New 5G phone?
Enough.
But I'm your hype man. When you purchase an eligible device, you get $25 off every month for 12 months with credits totaling 1 year of free service. Taxes extra for the device and service plan. Online only.
Fall is all about cozy comforts, but when you're prioritizing your health, it's easy to feel like you're missing out. With Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your fall favorites because they're made with Hero Bread sliced bread loaves, tortillas, bagels, dinner rolls, and more. Try their all-new Hero Noodles with 12 grams of protein and just 80 calories. So skip replacing every carb with cauliflower and indulge in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner time favorites while still hitting your goals. From breakfast bagels and meal prepped enchiladas to mouth-watering burgers and cheesy noodles. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. They've even got small batch drops of indulgent favorites like the popular Hero Croissant. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's fall25 at hero.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.
You've earned your place. Now let the perks prove it. At High Five Casino, the Prestige Loyalty Program delivers real rewards tailored to how you play. Reach icon status and unlock 2 extra sweeps coins and 180 more game coins every day just for logging in. And with every tier upgrade, you can score up to a 50 sweeps coin level up bonus, plus personalized daily harvests that grow as you climb. Log in now and check your Prestige tier. Your next High Five moment is waiting. HighFiveCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know we have completely ad-free early access to all of our episodes? Well, we do. Not only that, but we have dozens of bonus episodes waiting for you. Head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod, and you can check it out for 7 days absolutely free. That's patreon.com/ghosttownpod.